according to the syllabus, we should be starting Two Towers today. Well, supposedly should have started it on Wednesday. We won't start it today. There's a very off chance we might start it on Monday. More than likely, however, it'll be Wednesday. That's the other holiday. So, let's plan on a short, relatively short, quiz on Monday over Fellowship of the Ring. It'll be over all of Fellowship of the Ring, which is why it'll be a short quiz. 10, 15 questions. It'll be primarily character, plot. Who is who does what, but there'll be major things. It's not like, who is the first person to go into the side tunnel on? Be major stuff, okay? There'll probably be, well, not probably. I'll drop the lowest quiz at the, possibly lowest two quizzes at the end of the term, so you don't need to overly stress about it. That's already started. One other thing. If you're finding it difficult to keep up with the reading, it's not going to get any easier. So, do with that what you may. You might want to, I'm not encouraging anybody to do this, but you might want to withdraw and take another 2020 or 2030 course, because there are many with a hell of a lot less reading. This is probably, I think it's safe to say, this is probably the most reading intensive of all of our 2020 courses, because you've got this 1,200 pages, and then you've got, it's like 2,500 pages with the Harry Potter stuff, okay? And we just zip right through. We're a little bit behind. We will get not quite caught up, but for example, we'll probably only spend 3 days for Return of the King. Probably only spend 3 days on Two Towers. Probably only 2 days for the first Harry Potter novel and the second Harry Potter novel. I mean, we're going to zip, okay? So if you can't keep up, I'm just forewarning you. Okay, we need to pick up with Council of Elrond. So we're in the second half of Fellowship of the Ring. That's good. We might be able to finish it today. We'll see. If we don't, we won't have a lot to do. So, where we left off last time, Wednesday, was page 247. Frodo holds up the ring, and we're told Boromir's eyes glinted. And I made that comment that whenever, throughout the novel, whenever somebody's eyes glint, never a good sign. That's never a positive attribute, okay? That always implies they're thinking bad, negative thoughts, okay? And so Boromir glints, and he says, okay, so is then the doom of Minas Tirith come at last? Okay. What did the little poem say that Boromir announced to the group? Page 246. Seek for the sword that was broken, in Imladris it dwells. There shall be counsels taken stronger than Morgul spells. There shall be shown a token that doom is near at hand, for Isildur's maid shall waken, and the halfling forth shall stand. So, there shall be shown a token that doom is near at hand. Okay? Notice how Boromir kind of interprets that when he asks his question. Is then the doom of Minas Tirith come at hand? See, the word doom in the poem is used in relation to its to another word that it's related to the verb to deem or to judge. Judgment. Okay? How is Boromir using it, however, when he interprets it?
Destruction.
The destruction, the end, doomsday. Okay? Why? Because doomsday is, within the Western Christian kind of, tradition, Judgment Day. go all Terminator and everything if you want. So, is that it? Is Minas Tirith, has it run its course? Has it been a good run? Is it now going to die? Aragorn. Hold on there, Boromir. Let me correct your interpretation a little bit. The words were not the doom of Minas Tirith, but doom and great deeds are indeed at hand. Doom, judgment, and great deeds are at hand. For the sword that was broken is the sword of Elendil that broke beneath them, blah, 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 blah. And what does Aragorn then say to Boromir? Do you want the king to return to Gondor? How long has it been since Gondor had a king? If I remember correctly, I'd have to flip through the appendices. It's about 3,000 years. That is, there's been a steward reigning in Gondor for 3,000 years. The king has not been back. What's the third volume of The Lord of the Rings called? The Return of the King. T.H. White wrote a novel in the 1950s, The Once and Future King, about King Arthur. Yeah, King Arthur is bound up, the myth, with Tolkien's, image of Aragorn. Guess what other king is bound up? The Jewish Messiah, who is what? The king who will return. He's not back. According to Jews, he's not back yet, but, will be, so to speak, okay? So, you want the king to return? You want the sword that was broken to be reforged and come back? Let's put this in the modern world. Let's say the queen is having a council of advisors in London or at Windsor Castle, and somebody stands up to Charles. And Charles is going, so that's it? England's done for? We're going to lose? And somebody stands up and says, I'm the descendant of King Arthur. Do you want me to come back? Do you want me to take over from the House of Windsor? Do you want Excalibur to come back? Okay. Because Excalibur is what in our world? It's a myth. It's not real. Just think of the mind-blowingness it would be if somebody was doing an archaeological dig and they discovered a sword that dated from the mid-5th century that had written on it, Excalibur, Arthur had me made. Because what would that mean? The Arthur myth isn't myth. It's real. Okay? So, Boromir. I wasn't sent to beg any boon, but to seek only the mean. That is, I wasn't sent here to bring something back. A boon there is kind of like a remedy or a gift. What does Boromir really mean? I don't need you, buddy. I got things under control. But, things are pretty bad. If the sword of Elendil could come back, if Excalibur were real, if such a thing could indeed return out of the shadows of the past. What was the title of the second chapter? The Shadow of the Past. We're going to have this idea about shadows of the past. Mythic figures and characters. From this point on, that idea is going to start being referred to again and again and again. Why? One of the ideas Tolkien is, I think subconsciously, including throughout the course of the novel, is we live in the shadows. Okay? Whose shadows? The shadows of those who are in the future. That is, we are the shadows of the past. Because we don't tend to think that what we're doing is necessarily all that great and fancy and good. It's not necessarily all that earth-shadowing. But guess what? Probably people 200, 300, 400, 500, 1,000 years ago didn't think that either. They were doing what? Going about their daily lives. And when they had to fight in a war, they fought in a war. They weren't thinking about the stories that would be told 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years later. Okay? Because who makes up legends? The people who come after. You don't make up legends about yourself because it's hugely egotistical. Some people do, okay? But most of us don't. So, Bilbo stands up, reads his little poem and such. And Aragorn smiles and turns to Boromir and says, "It's okay. Little do I resemble the figures of Elendil and Isildur as they stand carven in their majesty in the halls of Denethor." So what has he just told Boromir? I've been at your daddy's house. I know what those figures look like. I don't look like them. Why? I am but the heir of Isildur, not Isildur himself. I am but the heir, let's say, because I don't think we have any living ones. Let's say somebody stood up today and said, I'm a direct descendant of George Washington. Maybe this guy in the White House ought to step aside and I should just kind of move in. Okay? What's he mean? George Washington's like this, right? And this guy would be, down here. Take a copy of something, anything, your notes, a book, and Xerox it. And then Xerox that copy, and then Xerox that copy, and do that a few hundred times. You know what the final one will look like compared to the original source?
Very faint.
It'll be lighter, fuzzy, faint. Okay? That's what Aragorn means. The gene pool's gotten a little watered down over the years. It's not like what it was. I've had a hard life, and a long. Leagues that lie between here and Gondor. Come on, Boromir. Because Boromir said what? Took me 100 days to get here. Aragorn's like, that's nothing. It's like walking across the street to me. In fact, Aragorn's going to tell him where all he has gone. There's a map somewhere in the back of your book. He says, I've crossed many mountains, many rivers, trodden many plains, even in the far countries of Rhûn and Harad where the stars are different. Okay, when he says that, right now, they're right here in Isengard. Isengard is right here. Gondor is down here. Minas Tirith is right around here. Okay? So Boromir had to go from here to here. Aragorn says, I've been off the map to the east, and I've been off the map to the south. Because what's at the south here? Near Harad. He says, I've been into far Harad. Don't talk to me about how hard it was to get from Gondor to here, Boromir. But my home is in the north. And he talks about being a ranger. Why is this important? Bottom of 248. He says, Boromir, you say that Gondor has been a stalwart and a bulwark against evil. And it has down there. But what about the north? You don't know anything about lands outside Gondor. So let me tell you a little bit. I'm stationed primarily up in the north, and yet less thanks have we than you. Travelers scowl at us. Countrymen give us scornful names. Strider I am to one fat man who lives within a day's march of foes that would freeze his heart. Who is that fat man? Barlaam Butterbur, the inn owner, the Prancing Pony. Okay? Yet we would not have it otherwise. We, the Rangers of the North, he says, we wouldn't have it otherwise. We wouldn't want people to call us, oh, look at the hero. Oh, look at the warrior. Oh, look at the sentinel. Why? If simple folk are free from care and fear, simple they will be, and we must be secret to keep them so. He is saying, if people are simple, not knowing, and free from care, that's a good thing. And it's our job to keep them that way. See, our society, not Aragorn's, our society says what? Knowledge is power. And the more knowledge you have, the more power you have. The more knowledge can mean the more you know this thing, where you can find out what is happening anywhere on the globe instantaneously. Does that really give you more power? No. What does it give you, if anything? Information. What can come as a result of that information? Fear. Because what do you tend, if you get on this thing and use it to find out what's happening around the world, what is usually, quote unquote, reported as what's happening? Terrible things. How often do you read? How often do you see in the news about the good things that are happening? About people helping? You don't. Why? It's not newsworthy. Okay? So, he says, if we can keep people, my phrase, fat, dumb, and happy, good. Better that they are fat, dumb, and happy. And we must be secret to keep, and that's what we've been doing. He says, but you know what, Boromir? The world is changing again. The sword will be reforged. I will come to Minas Tirith. Notice, not, I will come to Minas Tirith if you want me to. No. I'm coming. The king will return. He's not going to come as king, however. There are some things that have to happen before he can become king. Okay? Boromir says, pause. I saw a ring. How do I know that's Isildur's bane? Prove it. Kind of like Frodo, right? Back in his own home. How do you know, Gandalf, that this is really the One Ring? Okay? So, Bilbo tells his story. And then Gandalf tells his story. Okay? And he talks about his researches into the ring, finding in the library at Gondor that the ring had inscribed in it, in fiery letters, certain words. In page 254, Gandalf reads those words aloud in Rivendell. Ashnaz Durbatuluk, Ashnaz Gimbatul, Ashnaz Thrakatuluk, Agburzum Ishi Krimpatul. And, I'm going to put this on YouTube now. All these Tolkien nerds are going to, rip me to shreds for not pronouncing it all right. But anyways. Look at Elrond's response. Nobody's ever used that language here. Think of every cuss word, every, racist term, and link them all together, and that's like what he's just said. And Gandalf says, Elrond, you're right. Let's hope nobody ever does again. But if we don't do something, that's going to be the language everybody speaks. Okay? So he goes on, talks about Gollum. Gloin and the elves go back and forth a little bit. Gandalf talks about being captured by Saruman, page 259 and following. And what does Saruman offer to Gandalf? Power. He says, Gandalf, I think you know where this thing is, the One Ring. We could wield it together. Gandalf's like, really? How would that work? One finger, we're going to use this one. Only one finger fits inside at a time. What? I get it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You get it Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. We put it on a mantle? I don't think so. Okay? Well, what else does Saruman say? Let's back up. So Gandalf goes to Saruman, and he realizes Saruman's not wearing white anymore. He's wearing a coat of all colors, a robe of all colors. And Saruman says, so what do you think? I like white better. White. It serves as a beginning. White cloth may be dyed. The white page can be overwritten. And the white light can be broken. Saruman was Saruman the white. Now he wants to be Saruman of many colors. Gandalf, I like white better. Saruman, yeah, but look. Look what you can do to white. You can override it. Gandalf. The white light can be broken, Saruman says. Gandalf says, in which case it is no longer white, right? If I were to bring a prism in here and a really strong flashlight, kill these lights, shine that white light through the prism, what would you see here? Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Okay? Why? Those are the constituent wavelengths of white. Okay? So, in which case it is no longer white. He that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. If you're trying to figure out what something is, this, and you simply take it all apart. You take it all apart and you lay all the parts out here. You have somebody come in and you go, what is this? What would that person say? Is it a phone? No, it is not. It is what? It's the parts for the phone. In the fairy story essay, Tolkien uses that same kind of analogy with stories. Only he doesn't use a phone. What does he use? Stew. A story is like a stew. A stew is made up of what? Water, vegetables, I don't care what kind, maybe a meat. But if I were to invite you over to my house for stew, for dinner one night for stew, and you came in and you saw a big pot of hot water, a chunk of meat, salt, pepper, carrots, potatoes, onions, maybe tomatoes, maybe some celery, and I said, dig in. What would you think? Guy's a damn fool. That's not stew. That's the ingredients for stew. Okay? He that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. Now, Tolkien doesn't know that as he's writing this, but guess what? Many Tolkien, quote-unquote, scholars have done since the publication of this. They've done exactly that. They try to take it apart to find out what it is. And we come to learn what, for example, about Gandalf. Tolkien didn't create the name. Where did he get it? He got it from an Old Norse list of dwarves. Some of the same dwarf names that show up in The Hobbit. Big deal. Does that tell us anything about the character of Gandalf? No. No. So if you try to understand this merely by taking it apart, like, it's not going to work. Okay? So, Saruman goes on and says, what can we do? Let's join with Sauron, and maybe we can, over time, turn Sauron to good ends. Okay? What's he mean by that? We can join with that power, he says, and through our advice and counsel, we can what? We can get him to change. That's been United States foreign policy around the world for at least 50 years. That is, yeah, you got to get into bed with some slimy characters. But maybe over time we can gradually get them to do better in some things. Like, oh, I don't know, China. Cuba. Let's do business with China, and yeah, we'll talk to them about their human rights, problems. What do I mean by human rights problems? Oh, in the last 10 years, I could bring in news articles. I can send them to you on D2L of the Chinese authorities cracking down on various Christian groups or non-Christian groups, various Muslim groups, or other things, Falun Gong, etc.
Things on their nice, right?
Yeah. Or taking Christians who will not promise allegiance to the state and literally paving them into roads. That is, put them in a pile of asphalt and run a roller over them. And then dump more asphalt and rock and roll, baby. How's that for a quota? And we're going to try to turn them to not do that what? As much? Okay, we'll do 10 instead of 20. Is that necessarily better? Okay. So what does Gandalf say? Doesn't work. Doesn't work. So Saruman says, all right, you're right. We can't do that. So we have to overthrow Sauron, and then you and I can wield it together. And he's like, 2 fingers, 1 ring. Ain't gonna work. What is Saruman's whole proposal based upon? We can use the ring for what? To do good. And what does Gandalf say?
Can't be done.
Can't be done. Why? Okay.
The ring has its own mind. It wants to do evil.
Ring has its own mind. It wants to do evil.
Didn't you say earlier about the ring possesses people? And,
It possesses people.
Good intentions.
If they are mortal. If you're mortal, you can't control the ring. The ring will control you. Okay? What else? The ring is, and it's the only thing in the course of the novels that is this way. The ring is inherently evil. Inherently. From its very creation, it is evil. Sauron, from his very creation, was not evil. Sauron was one of those beings. Remember I talked about the other day? The Ainur. You know, you got Eru, Iluvatar up here. God, he creates the Ainur. They're like super powerful angelic beings. You know, the cherubim and seraphim, kind of in the Christian hierarchy. And then you have the Maiar. They're like angels. Everyday, ordinary angels. Okay? Angel, by the way, comes from Latin angelus. It just means messenger. So like the postal carrier. That's all angels are. Postmen. Okay? Sauron was one of these, though. In his creation, good. But he made himself rotten. Everything else was good, except for the ring. Why? Sauron made it, and he poured, we're going to be told, most of himself into it. There's nothing redeeming about the ring. The ring can never be used for good. What's the difference between a ring and a gun? Because there's a huge difference. Ring can act on its own. Guns don't shoot them by themselves. What else? Are guns inherently evil? No. You know, as the bumper sticker says, guns don't kill people.
People kill people.
People kill people. It's like, it drives me crazy. You read an article, leave guns aside for a moment. You read an article about how an SUV plowed into a group of people. No. Because what has to happen for that to happen? There's got to be some idiot behind the wheel. Every time. You know, the plane crashed into the... No. There were pilots who crashed a plane into X, Y, or Z. Okay? By writing it to SUV, what is the writer trying to do? Remove agency from somebody. Frodo, beginning of the novel. I do really wish to destroy the ring. And then he realizes what that means. I just said, I want to be, or to have it destroyed. No, I'd rather somebody else over there take care of it. You know, leave me and my family alone. Okay? So, Saruman says, well, okay, so since you won't listen to reason, I'm going to lock you up. Okay? Notice what does not happen. That happens in the film. Let's spit out this water. You don't get that idiotic, you know, wizards throwing each other around and, staff battling, zapping. Complete nonsense. Okay? Gandalf goes up, top of Orthanc, and he waits. And later on, Gwaihir the Wind Lord comes and rescues him. Why? Because Radagast the Browns, sent word out, and word comes. So, Gandalf says, I rode on, I got to Weathertop, I left you a message, and here we are. So, page 265. Notice, there's kind of silence. They now know the history of the ring. They know it is the ring. They know Sauron wants the ring. They know they can't let Sauron get it back. Why? If Sauron poured most of his power into the ring and he gets the ring back, what does that make Sauron? Complete. Full power. His batteries are, charged to the max, and all hell will break loose. Kind of literally. All hell will break loose. And Gandalf says, if he gets the ring back, there is nobody here that can oppose him. We could try, but we won't win. So, what do we do? And they say, what about Tom Bombadil? Why isn't he here? Elrond's talking. I'd forgotten about him. He's a strange creature. Maybe I should have summoned him. Gandalf wouldn't have come. Eristor, yeah, but couldn't we send messages to him? So why do they think about Tom Bombadil? You remember the scene where he says, Frodo, let me have the ring. And Frodo just gives it to him without any hesitation. I mean, when Gandalf says, give me the ring for a moment, Frodo's like, I'm not so sure about this. Tom Bombadil, yeah, sure, here. And what does Tom Bombadil do? He holds it, flips it up in the air, and it disappears. And Frodo's like, and he goes, chill, puts it on. He doesn't disappear. What does that automatically tell us about Tom Bombadil?
He's immortal.
He's not mortal. Okay. So, Eristor says, yeah, but wouldn't he take the ring maybe? Keep it safe where he is? Gandalf, no, well, not willingly. He might take it, but, he'd probably lose it. Why? Because he goes dancing around in the woods singing stupid songs, and he'd probably go. And once the ring was off his hand, what would it start doing? It's not like the ring suddenly wakes up morning, flying on its side, and comes up like this, so it's like a wheel, and says, Papa, and starts to roll on its own. What does it do? It kind of starts sending out vibes. Hello, I'm here, somebody find me, and somebody finds it, and it makes, etc. Okay? So, Glorfindel says, that wouldn't do any good. Why? It would only postpone. Nope, we got to do something. Okay? So what are the other options they have? Galder says, isn't there anybody here, or in Lothlorien, or at the Grey Havens, who has the strength? Elrond, nope. Yeah, Glorfindel, okay, so if we can't give it to Tom Bombadil, and nobody here has the strength to keep it from Sauron, then we only have two options. Send it over the sea or destroy it. Now, what does he mean, send it over the sea? Send it out, what does he mean out west? To Valinor, to the gods. See, the elves can get there. We can't. Why? Because they lived there before. Okay? The elves can get there. Elrond. Gandalf says, we can't destroy it. And they who dwell beyond the sea, it's not their problem. They would say, no, go back. So Glorfindel says, okay, let's throw it in the bottom of the ocean. Let's go to the Mariana Trench. Off the coast of Asia, throw it down there. Nobody will find it. Nope. At some point, it'll come back. So, we're kind of stuck in a quandary here. Bottom of 267. Boromir says, let's use it. Give it to the men of Gondor, and we'll march forth to victory. That is, with that sucker, I'll wipe out everything in front of me. Elrond, nope, can't use the ring. It belongs to Sauron, was made by him alone, is altogether evil. His strength, Boromir, is too great for anyone to wield at will, save only those who have already a great power of their own. But for them it holds an even deadlier power. The very desire of it corrupts the heart. You need proof? Look at Saruman. Saruman had been the leader of what's called the White Council. And now, he's bad. Okay? Nothing is evil in the beginning. Even Sauron was not so. But the ring is. I fear to take the ring to hide it. I will not take the ring to wield it. Gandalf says, neither I. So, what do they decide? What do they have to do?
Destroy it.
Got to destroy it. How do you destroy it?
Fires of Mount Doom.
Fires of Mount Doom. You got to go to where it was made. What does that mean? Excuse me, Sauron, can I come in, go to your backyard, find your forge? That's what it means. You got to knock on the very gates of hell and... Okay. Page 269. Aristor says, that's crazy. That's crazy. What strength have we for the finding of the fire in which it was made? That is the path of despair, or folly, I would say. Gandalf, despair or folly? It's not despair. Why? For despair is only for those who see the end beyond all doubt. The end, the final consummation, the conclusion. Gandalf says you can only really have despair, which word means what? Literally, this part means not, away from. This comes from Latin space, which means hope. No hope. You can only have no hope if you know what? Exactly what's going to happen. The only problem is, nobody knows exactly what will happen. Why? It hasn't happened. Even if you're a kid in Columbine, Colorado, in high school, and the two whack jobs are walking around going, boom, boom. At that moment, before the trigger is pulled, you don't know that you're going to be the next one. Because it might be, boom, and this one lives. Looks pretty bad. Looks like the odds are 99.99999, but you're not sure. So, Gandalf says, you can only have despair if you know how everything ends. Folly? Foolishness. Yeah, could be. Could be. Okay? So, Bilbo says, I'll do it. And they're like, shut up, Bilbo. You're too old, you're too fat, you're too... Frodo says, I will take the ring. 270. Though I do not know the way. And Elrond tells us, this task is appointed for you, Frodo. Appointed. Like, Frodo, you were meant to have the ring. If you don't succeed, no one will. This is the hour of the Shire folk. Compare this language with the trite platitudes Peter Jackson uses in the film. This is the hour of the Shire folk when they arise from their quiet fields to shake the towers and council of the great. This is time for the little people to shake the mighty. Is pretty much how Peter Jackson puts it. No, what does he mean? The Shire folk when they arise from their quiet fields. Who are the hobbits compared to, let's say, everybody else here?
They're kind of peaceful and by themselves. Don't really get into
Peaceful
anything.
by themselves, insignificant. Let's use an American analogy in our current political situation. Who are the quote-unquote powerful and mighty in the United States? Where do they live for the most part? The East Coast, what I call the left coast, lot in between. Washington, LA, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Washington, Miami, maybe, you know, if you want, New York. What's the rest of it called? By an awful lot of people, flyover country. Why? Because when Nancy Pelosi goes home from D.C., where does she go? She flies over to San Francisco, etc. Those in the middle, the little people, the unimportant, the insignificant, those who don't count, that's the Shire folks. Because who expected the Shire people to really do anything? And yet, go back to the analogy we've used before, the greatest generation. Who are the ones who shaped the mighty council, let's say, of Hitler? It's those farm boys from Middle America. Okay? Like Sam Gamgee. Sam Gamgee is your quintessential farm boy. The Luke Skywalker of his period. Okay? So, Sam says, I'm going too. Who goes with him? Who makes up the Fellowship of the Ring? Let's start with Frodo. Sam. We'll come to Merry and Pippin later. Who next?
Aragorn.
And right with him, Gandalf. Legolas. Louder. Boromir. Gimli. Okay, let's leave Merry and Pippin off for a moment. So, we have hobbits. We have human. Well, whatever Gandalf is. We have elf. And we have dwarf. Pretty much representing all the free peoples of Middle Earth. Okay? Who does Elrond want to go for the final two positions? Why do there need to be 9? Because there's 9 black riders. These will be the 9 walkers to counter the 9 riders. Who does he want?
Elves.
What kind? Just every ordinary elves? Warrior elves. Let's put Glorfindel, down here. Or somebody else like that. Okay? What does Gandalf say instead? Trust to friendship. Gandalf is the one who says, nope, needs to be Merry and Pippin. Elrond says, okay, I can go with Merry, but I got a bad feeling about seeing Pippin. What does he want Merry and Pippin to do instead? Send them back to the Shire for what purpose?
Diversion.
No. To prepare. Send them back to the Shire to help the Shire prepare for what's coming. But he says, okay, I'll trust you on this, Merry. Pippin. Why not Pippin? Why does Elrond really against Pippin?
Pippin's really young,
And what often comes with youth?
naive.
Okay, you're too nice. I heard it. He's an idiot. He's stupid. He's rash. He's impetuous. Okay, so Merry and Pippin, they go, they leave. Aragorn gets his sword remade, and we're going to skip a bunch. So the ring goes south. They first try to go south by going over the top of a mountain. Why? It'll cut their journey down an awful lot. But they can't get over. Why? We're told the mountain opposes them. Caradhras itself kind of like, So they have to go another way. The other way they have to go is the way that Gandalf's told privately to Aragorn, this is the way we're going to have to go. And Aragorn's like, I don't want to go that way. Let's try the way over the mountain pass. By Aragorn saying, I don't want to go this other way, what's he saying about the Mines of Moria? It scares the heebie-jeebies out of me. He's been there before. He's been through there before. Gandalf's been through there before. Gandalf says we can go through again. Okay? And just before they go through, we're told see here. Aragorn warns Gandalf. He says, it's not for us I'm concerned, it's for you. Beware the mines of Moria. They get in, I'm skipping a lot that I don't want to skip, I just have to. They get in, page 311. And Aragorn says, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I've been with him on many a journey. If never on one so dark, there are tales in Rivendell of greater deeds, He'll find his way through. So they keep going through, and they come to a big open room. Now it's dark down here. And in this big open room, there's a big well. Okay? You're Pippin. So you are, Pippin's in his, at this point I believe, his late tweens. Late 20s. Which in our world is like 14, 15. So he's not thinking all that much. He's just a stupid jerk kid. Okay? You find this big old deserted castle, and there's a big deep well. What do you immediately think? Well, how deep is it? I mean, I would do that. Hell, I'd do that at 57. Go up to it, you pick a rock up. He doesn't sit down and knock a skull in. He picks a rock up and intentionally goes, and it just keeps falling. And finally we hear a splash. And Gandalf goes ape you-know-what crazy. Okay? This is while Pippin is, slowly before Pippin is keeping watch. And I can't find the exact spot. And Gandalf calls him Fool of a Took. Page 313. Right in the middle of the page. What's that? He hears the noise. Fool of a Took. This is a serious journey, not a hobbit walking party. Throw yourself in next time, and then you will be no further nuisance. Now be quiet. So there's minutes of quiet, and then what do I start hearing? And it's rhythmic, and it's not natural. And he's like, damn, you woke something up that shouldn't have been awakened. Okay? So Pippin gets first watch. Gandalf goes and breaks him for the watch. And they go and they find a book called the Black Book of Mazerpool. You can go, if you get clearance, you can go to a collection at Marquette University in Marquette, Wisconsin, in the library, and this book is there. Why? All of Tolkien's drafts and material for The Lord of the Rings is at this library. He sold it in like 1957 to pay off a tax debt for 10 grand. He sold all the original manuscripts for The Lord of the Rings. Okay? So you walk into this room, and the room is not much bigger than this, and you see Tolkien's hand-drawn maps. And you'll see this book, because he made a mock-up of the book that has smoke smears on it, has what looks like a little bit of blood, like he cut his finger, dripped some blood, and smeared it, burned the edges of the... I mean, he was really anal about some of this stuff, about really making it kind of real. So they read, and what do they read? They read about Balin finding Moria, restarting the colony, etc., and about an attack. And that's when we get, we probably don't have time, the Bridge of Khazad-Dum. So, they're attacked, they escape, and they flee down these stairs. Gandalf makes his way down, and he's really tired. He says, I'm spent, etc., etc. He doesn't know what it is he confronted. And we get to page 329. Legolas sees this thing that is coming out of the dark. Okay? All the orcs are fleeing like ants from poison. I mean, they're just... And Legolas sees this thing, and he cries out, Bottom of 329. Two great trolls appear. They bore great slabs of stone. They put it over the thing. And whatever this thing is, it came to the edge of the fire. The light faded as if a cloud had been over it. With a rush, it leaped across the fissure. The flames roared up to meet it. It has a mane of hair that is on fire. A Balrog is come. Gimli, Durin's Bane, Gandalf. Oh, crap. A Balrog. Now I understand. And I'm already weary. Do we have the foggiest idea of what a Balrog is? Nope. Are we ever actually told within the course of the Lord of the Rings what a Balrog is? No, we are not. Guess what? It's another one of those. Okay? I'm pretty sure it's another one of those. I might be completely... It's been so long since I've read the Silmarillion. Pretty sure it is. Okay? And Gandalf's like, oh, sheesh. So what does Gandalf do? He goes up to the center of the bridge, says you can't pass. Is that it? You can't pass? Look, I got a big shiny sword, I got a staff? No. He says, 330, you cannot pass. I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Aenor. That's the sword. Okay? That's the sword. Aenor is the northern kingdom of Gondor. Gandalf's sword came from there. He gets it in The Hobbit. You cannot pass. The dark fire will not avail you. Flame of Adun, go back to the shadow. But what does he mean when he says, I am a servant of the secret fire?
The White Council?
White Council? They're not so secret. Everybody knows they're there. %, sure here. Yeah, it's been a long time since I read Silmarillion. It's a Rue. It's a Rue Iluvatar. Gandalf's one of these. It doesn't come out in The Lord of the Rings. It comes out in the Silmarillion. Gandalf is one of his names. This will come out later. Another name he was called was Olorin. Another name he will be called, it's been referred to in the Council of the Past, Mithrandir. The elves call him Mithrandir. He was called Olorin, he will say at one point, in the west of my youth. Okay? It's 11:15. We will stop here. So finish finish fellowship, because we're going to, the rest of this we're going to take probably 25, 30 minutes. So for the 2 towers, you need to get through at least, I would say, Helm's Deep. It's the first 7 chapters for Monday. All right.